5 words: under budget, ahead of schedule.
While the hotel may be new, it's the same old story.
Hillary said Donald Trump took time off the campaign. Can you believe it? Here's a woman goes home and she goes to sleep all the time.
You can talk a good game, but let's look at the facts.
We're way ahead on virtually every state.
We can't take our foot off the gas even for a short time.
I really think that we're going to have a tremendous victory.
Donald Trump says he can still win, and he's right.
This is New Day with Chris Cuomo and Allison Cameron.
Okay, big update on the story we've been covering all week about National Guard members having to repay their re-enlistment bonuses. That was Secretary of Defense Ash Carter ordering the Pentagon to stop seeking those repayments of bonuses. He has set a July 1st deadline for this to be resolved. Joining us now to discuss this, as well as the battle in Mosul, is CNN military analyst and former Army Commanding General, Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. General, great to see you this morning.
Good morning, Allison.
Before we get into it, I just must say the power of the press, okay? General, we have covered this every single day here on New Day, as well as throughout CNN, as well as other journalists at other networks. And after Congress had years and they didn't fix this problem, the media shined a light on it, and now the problem is fixed. So all of the people who say they don't like the media, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, I love the media, Allison, and you are great, and you and Chris are super up there. But here's what I'll tell you. This is an ugly baby. That's how most soldiers would describe it, and it's been that way for a couple of years because it's been passed back and forth between the state of California, the Pentagon, and the Congress. And the perception issues on what's going on, I think Mr. Carter, the Secretary of Defense, did exactly what he needed to do, was suspend the collections and suspend the recoup of the payment. But truthfully, it goes a lot deeper than that. There were a lot of commander involvements in the California Guard that committed fraud. Some of them have been punished. There were some soldiers who accepted money when they shouldn't have. And the question is, do they get to keep the money that they knew was falsely gained? And again, it has to do with what was the Adjutant General of the state of California doing to make this known? What was the Governor of California? What was Congress doing if they found out about it? And in fact, it all falls right on the lap of the Secretary of Defense, and he had to make the hard call this week to say, hey, stop this nonsense. Let's not take away money. Let's figure it out and hold the right people accountable.
I mean, look, we've talked to National Guard members and who had retired. They had to pay these back to the tune of tens of thousands, sometimes $40,000. They had to remortgage, take out a second mortgage on their home. What does happen to these people who've already had the hardship of paying back the bonuses?
Well, they can redress grievances and ask for a recoup of the money that was taken away from them under Secretary Carter's plan. But again, let's go back to the power of the press. Has the press talked to the soldiers who knowingly took money falsely and talked to the commanders who gave it? So that's the rest of the story. And really, this is all about accountability. And having spent a good portion of my life in the military, I was thinking of making it a career after 37 years. You always have to take responsibility and hold yourself accountable for these things. And that's the rest of the story that's not being covered as we say, oh, gee, those poor soldiers. Yes, there are certainly some poor soldiers who were put in dire economic straits, but at the same time, there were probably some that knew exactly what they were doing, and they shouldn't have that money given back to them.
Okay, we're on it. I hear your pitch, and we will stay on this story, obviously, and update everybody on all sides of it. Let's talk about what's going on in Mosul. How do you think the battle to rid that city of ISIS is going?
Well, from all reports and from the comments I've been receiving from my friends, both on the Iraqi and Kurdish sides and the U.S. military side, it's going much better than they expected and faster than the plan had seen. But again, they all realize that they're still on the eastern side of the city of Mosul, which they knew was going to be the easier fight. They have not crossed over to the western side, across those 5 bridges that cross the Tigris River, and that's where the fighting is really going to get rough, and I believe that's where ISIS is going to hold their ground and fight to the death with suicide vests, car bombs, house-borne IEDs, snipers, moving around through the tunnels that are in that part of the city and the tough streets that are in the old town and near the airport. So the toughest part of the fight is yet to come, but early indicators are that, first of all, the Iraqi security forces are acting, as one of my Iraqi friends told me, instead of 5 fingers, they're acting as 1 fist, and they're going after the enemy. That's a good thing, because it indicates that that army has come back to the fray, and they're receiving government support from the Iraqi central government in Baghdad. So all of that is good, but there's a lot left to do, not only in the fighting, but what happens in the humanitarian relief efforts afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. General Mark Hertling, thanks so much. Great to talk to you this morning.
Always a pleasure, Allison. Thank you.
Let's get over to Chris.
The Hispanic vote is expected to be pivotal on this election day, especially in the battleground states like Florida, Nevada. Which way do we think the Latinos will go? Let's discuss next.
The number of Latino voters expected to be unprecedented on Election Day, and their vote will be pivotal in battleground states like Nevada because the latest poll in Nevada shows Trump and Clinton locked in a virtual tie, 43-43. CNN's Ana Cabrera spoke to Latino voters there. She joins us live from Las Vegas. Good morning, Ana.
Good morning, Allison. Latinos make up nearly 20% of the voters in this state, and given how close the race is here, you could see why they can have a significant impact in determining who wins the election in this state. Now, we got off the Las Vegas Strip, away from these bright, shiny lights, and we talked candidly to voters in their neighborhood, to Latinos. And we talked about what's important to them this election cycle as we explored the power of the Latino vote.
I didn't have papers. I didn't have a family in the United States. The only thing I have is a big bag of dreams.
Flor Cardona immigrated from Mexico 16 years ago.
This is my son. He's 21 now.
Cardona is a single mom, a high school counselor, a cancer survivor, and now a U.S. citizen.
Last Saturday, I voted for first time.
Voting early for Hillary Clinton.
I stand for her because, first of all, is a strong woman like me.
Why not Donald Trump?
Donald Trump, attack Latinos, attack women, attack the community.
Does the Trump campaign care about the Latino vote?
Absolutely. Since prior to the caucus here, we've been engaging the Hispanic community on a near daily basis.
Both campaigns believe they need this voting bloc.
We're making sure that Latinos turn out in high rates is a strategic priority for us.
Both camps have deployed Spanish-speaking canvassers, and the Clinton team has invested in Spanish-language ads.
Como presidenta, solo Hillary Clinton.
They're targeting a possible record number of Hispanic voters this year, with 27.3 million eligible to cast ballots, an increase of 4 million since 2012, according to the Pew Research Center. And in at least 4 battlegrounds, including Nevada, Arizona, Florida, and Colorado, the share of the Latino vote 4 years ago was larger than the 10% share nationwide. It's exactly why statements like this,
But we have some bad hombres here, and we're going to get them out,
have GOP pollster Whit Ayers shaking his head.
We don't have enough time in this interview to list all of Donald Trump's mistakes.
Ayers points to his party's so-called autopsy of what went wrong in 2012, when Mitt Romney won just 27% of the Latino vote. The RNC wrote in its post-mortem report, if Hispanic Americans perceive that a GOP nominee or candidate does not want them in the United States, i.e. self-deportation, they will not pay attention to our next sentence.
Given the growth of the Hispanic vote, for a Republican to be competitive, they need to be somewhere north of 40% among Hispanics.
Is that possible?
Absolutely. Look, Latinos want what everyone else wants. They want a better quality of life.
I think we are going down the wrong path.
Irma Aguirre is an entrepreneur. El Sombrero Mexican Bistro is her pride and joy.
This is a celebration of my heritage.
Yet she's not offended by Trump's comments about Mexicans.
I did not hear him insult Mexicans. What I heard him say was that Mexico basically allows a lot of the corruption to flow over into our country.
And she supports Trump because he knows business.
Someone that I know is a doer, like myself, has a dream, has a vision, and brings it to reality by working super, super hard.
Jobs, economic equality, education. These are the issues Latinos tell us they care most about. Now, immigration reform is important too, but it's certainly not the only issue driving this voting bloc. Chris?
All right, Anna, thank you very much. Very well done. Hillary Clinton's campaign touting a 99% increase in Hispanics who have already voted in the must-win state of Florida. Let's discuss what each campaign offers Latinos, all right? So we have founder of Latinas for Trump, Denise Galvez, and political director for the Florida Democratic Party, Mayra Macias. Thank you to both of you ladies being with me this morning. So recent polling suggests that Clinton's going to get about 51% of the Sunshine State's Hispanic vote, 51-36. So let's start on that basis, and let's start with the pro-Clinton angle here, Mayra. What does Hillary Clinton do for Latinos that justifies this lead in the polls?
Well, Chris, first of all, thank you so much for having this conversation so important to not just Florida, but across the country. And, you know, before I was a Democrat, I was born the daughter of Mexican immigrants. And at a very fundamental level, Hillary Clinton respects our community. That's something that Donald Trump has not demonstrated, not just by calling us rapists, criminals, drug dealers, but in his latest debate saying bad hombres were, you know, prevalent amongst us. And I think, policy aside, a fundamental lack of respect for our community is what is costing him this election.
Now, let me follow with you 1 second, Mayra. Some of my best friends are Cubanos from southern Florida, and I got to tell you, they like Trump. And they say, hey, this idea that all I care about is being able to get into the country easily is silly. Most of us are here legally. Almost all of us are here legally. And I care about the economy. I'm a small business guy. I want strong immigration. So is this idea that all Latinos are offended by Trump far-fetched?
Well, I don't presume to speak for all Latinos, but I will say that being on the ground, and not just in Miami, but in Orlando, where we have a huge contingent of Puerto Rican voters, I've heard firsthand that folks are offended. And even though this isn't necessarily an issue of immigration, you're disrespecting our community. And when I'm walking down the street versus when a Cuban person is walking down the street, the average American doesn't understand the nuances between our ethnic groups, and Donald Trump is enabling people to continue to perpetuate these bigoted ideas about our community. Not only that, he's enabling folks like former governor of Arizona, Jan Brewer, to say, you know what, these people don't vote, you have nothing to worry about. And that is just disrespectful, and it's a slap in the face of not just Mexican immigrants, but all Latinos who are being mischaracterized as one homogenous group.
All right, and Denise, and what do you tell people when they come to you, if they're expressing these concerns? What do you say to justify why you support Donald Trump?
I mean, two things you both just touched upon. Number one, she said policy aside. Well, guess what? Most Latinos in this country do care about policy. And you said it earlier in your segment. They care about jobs. They care about the economy. They fled their countries. The majority. And this, I can say this for all Latinos, the majority of them fled their countries to basically escape the same policies that Hillary proposes. Okay, they want less government interference, less regulation. Okay, they came here for economic opportunities. So to say policy aside, yeah, that's real simple. Of course, let's talk more about the rhetoric. No, let's stick to policy. Policy is what matters to those Latinos. The ones that you spoke to that are business owners and entrepreneurs, they get it. That's why they're supporting Trump. They don't want more of the same policies that led to corruption in their home countries. They're here for economic opportunities. That's what's a priority to them.
But you have
That's why they're supporting Donald Trump.
You have a big gap, though, right? Because they're not supporting Donald Trump, right? In Florida, you got about 50 to 30 something. Overall, it's like 70 to 17. So there must be something to the idea that Latinos feel insulted. What do you say to them when they say, hey, man, you heard what he says about us. You heard what he said about that judge. What do you say in response?
I tell them, if you care about policy and the future of this country, then you vote for Trump. If you want more of the same policies that you had in the countries you fled, you vote for Hillary.
So you ignore what he said about your community?
We do ignore it because most of it is not true. Okay, what started all of this, his original campaign speech when he decided to run for president, what started this entire he hates Mexicans BS, quite frankly, was a speech that was taken out of context, where they ignored the sentence following where he said most Mexicans come into this country are criminals and rapists. Well, guess what? He said right after that I guess a lot of them are good people. Okay, so everybody ignores that statement, and they put it, and they think that he hates immigrants. He's not anti-immigrant. He's pro-American. So if you're pro-America and pro-American opportunities and economic opportunities, then you're for Trump.
Mayra, you winced when Denise said that. Tell me why, but then also finish by telling me why you think on the policy side your candidate is the right choice for Latinos.
And let me just clarify, when I said policy aside, I was just talking about at a fundamental level. If you cannot respect our people, how are you going to govern? How are you going to create policy that meets the need of our community? But let's stick to the policy, because Secretary Clinton has demonstrated time and time again that she has substantive plans. Within the first 100 days of her tenure, she said she would work on immigration reform. And I know we said immigration reform is not an issue that affects all Latinos, but guess what? She has an economic plan that is substantive, that is going to not just help the 1% and give tax cuts to those who don't need them. And I haven't heard any substantive policy coming from Donald Trump. Latinos care about education because guess what? As Denise was saying, folks are fleeing their country for economic education opportunity. Well, Hillary Clinton has a plan to not only enhance public education, but to make college more affordable.
Ladies, both of you, thank you for the reasoned discussion on this. Appreciate it. You're both welcome back on New Day anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, there's a lot of news and developments in the election and otherwise. So let's get to it.